There has been no one in the Apple Tech YouTube sphere that has been praising Apple's new M4 Mac lineup as much as me. With the power of these chips and with Apple raising the starting memory to 16 gigabytes for all M4 Macs, there has never been a better time to buy a Mac in the last few years. But there's still a big problem that Apple has, something they have not fixed with this M4 lineup that needs to be fixed. Listen, not to leave you in suspense, but the rally keeps going. We are closely approaching 400,000 subscribers before the end of 2024, and I am not taking my foot off the gas pedal. So this is a call to everyone. Hit the subscribe button, make this young man's dream come true. Ever since I was 5 years old, I remember looking up at my mom and going, I want a Charizard card. And I got that Charizard card, but now I'm an older man, and now I want 400,000 YouTube subscribers. So make this little young man boy's dream come true. All right, so what's the big deal here? Greg, are you really not satisfied with the latest M4 Max? What more could you ask for? Well, I already know that most of you think this video is going to be about Apple needing to upgrade the base storage of their devices, and partly you're not wrong there, but there's more to this, so just stay with me. Listen, 256 gigabytes for a Mac in 2024 is a low storage spec, and yes, I think the next thing on the chopping block going forward is getting rid of that storage tier like they already have with their MacBook Pro lineup. And listen, I'm gonna be fair to Apple here. On a $600 Mac Mini, 256 gigabytes of storage is not unreasonable, but the starting storage problem does start to become an issue when you look at other Macs in the lineup. Laptops like the MacBook Air are $1,000, and at those premium prices, you should expect an experience that does not compromise in other areas, like storage. I think the real pain point though is when most users go to configure a new Mac, just like I did when I was configuring one of the M4 iMacs for myself. This is a computer design that I am so in love with that I am buying one despite it not really being a pro machine. And I was happy because I knew I wouldn't have to spend that much money on this machine now that it came with 16 gigabytes of memory, but I was wrong because the pricing upgrade on the iMac is all out of whack. Not only does the iMac have a higher starting price of $1,300, but it still comes with just 256 gigabytes of storage. But more upsetting than that is when you look at the other options here on Apple's configurator page. Not only does the base iMac just come with 256 gigabytes of storage, but the next option up, a $1,500 computer, still comes with that same base storage. And to get the equivalent 512 gigabyte spec that you can find on the MacBook Pro with the same M4 chip is $100 more than that computer because of how Apple prices their storage upgrades. And there lies the main problem. It's not the fact that Apple is selling a 256 gigabyte iMac, it's that Apple's pricing to upgrade to their next storage tier is another $200 on top for just another 256 gigabytes of storage. And to me, these storage bumps offer no logic in their pricing. It costs the same $200 to go from 256 gigabytes of storage to 512 gigabytes of storage as it is to go from 512 gigabytes of storage to 1 terabyte. One of these is just a 256 gigabyte increase in storage, while the other jump is a 512 gigabyte increase in storage, yet they both carry the same $200 price increase. At least the 2 terabyte option seems to make a little more logical sense with the extra $400 bump, but I don't think that's something I should be applauding there. And memory upgrades are just as illogical and pricey. Sure, I am very happy that the M4 Mac now starts at 16 gigabytes of memory, but if you want to step up to 24 gigabytes of memory, well, it's a $200 increase, and to step up to 32 gigabytes, it's another $200 increase on top of that. Effectively, for the regular M4 Max, you're paying $200 per 8 gigabytes of memory. And I don't have to tell you that even based on the highest spec RAM pricing, that is not what the price should be. And this pricing structure doesn't follow on the Macs with the M4 Pro chips. Even though these memory upgrades are still expensive, it takes $400 to jump from 24 gigabytes to 48 gigabytes. Basically, you're getting an extra 8 gigabytes free despite spending the same $400 on upgrades for an M4 machine. Or an easier way to look at this is you're paying $16 per gigabyte on an M4 Pro's memory upgrade, whereas with the base M4 chip, you're spending $25 per gigabyte. And that seems counterintuitive to me, considering that people buying the M4 machines are more likely to be on a budget, thus needing the cheaper upgrade prices for these upgrades. And also, I would assume that M4 Pro chips with these higher amounts of unified memory cost more to manufacture than regular M4 chips with lower amounts of memory. So from just a business and consumer buying point of view, and just a general supply chain point of view, these prices just seem to be an arbitrary jump. However, this next example is what really pushed it over the line for me, because this just proved to me that the current pricing structure for upgrades for storage and memory needs to have a more serious conversation around it. Okay, so let's take a look at what I and a lot of people are calling the best value Mac and probably the best valued computer in existence right now. That, of course, is the base model M4 Mac Mini. It's $600, which is a fantastic price. No one is arguing that. But let's add on 32 gigabytes of memory and 512 gigabytes of storage. All of a sudden, the price of this machine doubles, becoming a $1,200 computer shockingly fast. And the crazier part to me, the thing that opened my eyes completely that this pricing structure needs to change, is that you can literally add two base model Mac Minis with 256 gigabytes of storage and 16 gigabytes of memory. That equals the spec we just built out if you put them together on top of the entire manufacturing cost for the aluminum body and all the parts that need to go into that Mac Mini. And it is still $1 cheaper to order those two separate computers than it is to just order one of those Mac Minis with the equivalent specs inside of them. And yes, that to me just makes no sense. It does not seem possible or logical that, for argument's sake, we are buying from Apple the same amount of storage and the same amount of memory, just separating it out into two different computer bodies, and somehow the price of one machine with all of that packed in comes out to $1 more than buying two of those machines separately. If you can come up for a good argument as for why that is, I would love to hear that, but I don't think the price to put those storage options or memory configurations into the Mac Mini would outweigh the separate cost of not only manufacturing an entirely separate computer, but shipping it as well. So yeah, Apple, listen, I am happy that you listened to the feedback of consumers and increased the memory on the M4 Max. And let me be honest, you are killing it with the Apple Silicon lineup in general. The power we are seeing on these computers, the efficiency, the battery life, the engineering, it is insane. You are delivering on a great value at the lowest ends. But I also know that Apple is a company that ships products that, has that old phrase, right? They just work right out of the box. They're not frustrating to use. And with these lower storage tiers and with these upgrades being highly priced on these storage components or these memory upgrades, I feel like just leaves a bad taste in consumers' mouths. Naturally, the next step and what many people will ask for is a bump up in the base storage. But I think the bigger problem to fix, the thing that would be more impactful for this generation of Macs and future generations of Apple Silicon Macs, is to lower the price of these upgrades. And I've been reading from a script for most of this video, and now I'm gonna go a little off script because I wanna convey this completely from the heart here. I think this would not only be a good move for Apple, but for consumers also. I think that even if we can lower, even on the lower end of upgrades to 512 gigabytes or to 1 terabyte, if we could lower these upgrades by $100, I think that would go a long way. I think consumers would really appreciate that. And I also think a lot of people out there buying Macs right now are hesitant to spend money on these storage upgrades. But if they were a little bit more reasonable, I think they would spend not less money on Macs. I think they would end up spending more money on Macs because they would be less hesitant to upgrade these Macs. I think it would be a net benefit for consumer goodwill and also for Apple's bottom line. I think you would end up making more money. And I also think you'd win a lot of converts that look at these pricing upgrades. They look at how expensive a Mac can get when you start to spec it out. And if you lower those upgrade costs, I think they would also be new Mac customers. I think you would sell a lot more Macs this way if you could fix this kind of really high upgrade in pricing. So that's me from the heart here. I think this would ultimately be a good move for this generation of Macs, for future generations of Macs. I don't even think bumping up the base storage, while it would be a temporary fix, it wouldn't solve the problem completely for future generations as we continue to need more storage and more memory in all these upgrades. And ultimately, I feel like Apple can lower the price a little bit here on their upgrades. And that goes for all manufacturers out there that have high upgrade pricing. I don't want to pick on Apple here, but this is I talk a lot about Apple on this channel. So that is my wish for these Apple Silicon computers. That is my wish for Apple. If you're listening to me, you're probably not, but hey, I think lowering those upgrade prices would go a long way. It would sell more Macs, and it would result in customers being happy, and happy customers buy more of your products. So it's a win-win. But hopefully you found this video informative. If you agree with me, please give me a like. If you want to see more from the channel, make sure you subscribe. Don't take don't take this critical video of one of the problems with the M4 Max as like serious negativity towards it. It's not, right? I think we all kind of agree this way, and I don't want to say, like, I don't want you to take away from this video that I'm not excited for these new M4 Max. I am, and I think Apple did a good job with them, but you can always do a little bit more, right? And I think that's the next step. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.